This is the Angels POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Angels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome back to the latest edition and the long-awaited, you could say, return of the Locked On Angels postcast, coming at you live, as always, although hasn't been always, unfortunately, as of late, right here on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel and after the fact, both on the channel and wherever the heck you get the Locked On Angels audio podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, or, if you do know who I am, but you might have forgotten because it's been a while. What's going on, everybody? My name is Gavin Carlson, former credentialed journalist in the LA area, spent 4 years covering UCLA sports with the Daily Bruin, and now in year 2 with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. Our team is the Angels, and I will certainly get into them in a second, but I just have to say, shout out to everybody in here. I know it has been a decent amount of time. Obviously, been holding it down for the Locked On Podcast Network on a couple different channels, which was always the plan, but I didn't know that the games are going to overlap as much as they have been. Saturday's game for the Angels overlapped with Friday night's game with the Angels overlapped with UCLA, and then Sunday's Rams game overlapped with the Angels. Obviously, the Angels had yesterday off, but glad to be back with you guys here tonight. As you can see, I am not at home. I am actually at work, stayed at work so that I could do this show on time for once. So I hope you guys appreciate that. Normally, I'm racing home and then starting the show 30 minutes late, 45 minutes late. I figured I'd stick around at home so that I could do it directly after the game. The downside, you don't get the full setup. You don't get the jerseys behind me. I don't get to put on my Angels hat. But the good thing is I am here live right after the game. Please do let me know if the sound sounds weird, since I am not using my microphone as normal. But glad to be back. And we'll be back tomorrow and Thursday and all that good stuff. So we are back for the end of the season as planned. But shout out to everybody in here. Our team is the Angels. And Angels win says, sadly, our team is the Angels. Mahoko also saying hello, welcome back. Deshaun says, no explanation needed. Good to see you hustling hard for your fans. Hey, I appreciate that, and glad to be back here tonight. An interesting game for our Angels. Let's not waste any time jumping into this one, because certainly some good, certainly some bad. And I know there's plenty of reasons to be negative, obviously, with how the season has gone and everything. And I know we did lose this game. The Angels lose 9-2. This is a game that the Angels were behind early and often, giving up runs in the first 4 innings. They were down 5-0 before they put up a run in the 5th. Then they made it 5-2, but then it quickly became 6-2. And then in the bottom of the 8th became 9-2. So plenty of reasons to be upset. We'll get into Caden Dana and his very, very, very rough start. But there was a glimmer of hope, a few bright spots, very few, but a couple of bright spots. And that is where I want to start with today's show.
This is what you'll be talking about.
We have to talk about Denzer Guzman and Christian Moore, because when the Angels called up this pair just a few days ago, this is what they had in mind, and this is what, if I was doing a show the day they made their debut and everything, this is what I would have hoped for, right? We've been having all these talks, or at least I have been in recent shows, about, what's an A-plus game for the Angels at this stage of the 2025 season, knowing the season is over, right? What's a C-plus game? What's an F game? And if you look at the final score, you think, how is it not an F? I mean, certainly the score is, but we know we're not that worried about that. Caden Dana having the horrible start that he has makes you certainly think it's an F. But like I said, with Denzer Guzman being called up and Christian Moore getting recalled, their performance, them being even remotely successful these last couple of weeks, would turn a F game into maybe a C, right? Certainly, Caden Dana is arguably the most important prospect for the Angels because of how weak the rotation looks to be in a couple of years. But Christian Moore is the number one guy in our, our number one prospect. I don't know why I can't talk. Our number one guy in our farm system, and Denzer Guzman at number 9. These are two guys who are very young, who have potential to help out in the field and at the plate. And we did see that today. We did see that. Denzer Guzman with his first career home run, and a very impressive home run at that. Anytime you hit your first home run, anytime you get called, I know we're seeing a lot of guys get called up for the Angels and for all teams that aren't competing right now. Anytime you get called up at 21 years old, that's already impressive. Anytime you can have any success at 21 years old, that is impressive. Anytime you can hit your first career home run, you're going to celebrate it. But when you do it off of Freddie Peralta, right, and that 2.65 ERA in 2025, that 17-6 record in 2025, for Denzer Guzman to do it off of him and to do it on a high fastball and to hit it to straightaway center field, very, very impressive, and certainly something to get excited about. If that alone happens, you turn what is a frustrating game with what happens with Kaden Dana into a, average game. But when you combine the fact that so far it's been a pretty darn good start for him since he's joined the team. Now 3 for 9, so he's hitting .333. The slug is now .667. The OPS is 1,000 because of the home run, right? It doesn't get much better than that. A 2-hit game for him on Sunday, and then the home run tonight, his first career home run, his first career RBI, his first career extra base hit. He does have 2 strikeouts. He did have 1 yesterday, or 2 days ago. He did have 2 in his debut. But man, oh man, for this guy to come in here at 21 years old, he looks like he's 15 years old. You will certainly take it, right? Very impressive. And he's, quietly he's making an argument right away that he should be a guy we should be looking out for in spring training and going into next year. And I'll be honest, if Christian Moore didn't do what he did tonight, maybe some people would be coming in here and saying what I would argue are foolish things, saying, oh, maybe he's the actual prospect we should be excited about in the middle infield, not Christian Moore. Fortunately, Christian Moore reminds us tonight of the potential he has as he goes deep as well. And again, to do it off of, a great team in general, right? Very impressive. So happy for Christian Moore. Obviously, it doesn't come off of Freddie Peralta, but it comes off Anderson, who I believe has been having an okay season in his own right. And yeah, not just okay, a 2.97 ERA for Grant Anderson. So 2 impressive pitchers that are 2 young middle infielders go deep off of. Going to Christian Moore's, it is, not an easy pitch to hit, I would argue. And anytime you hit something up and away, always impressive. High and away 4-seam fastball. He didn't get all of it necessarily, but again, straightaway center field, 104 off the bat. Very impressive there. And then Denzer Guzman, in case you forgot what he did off of Peralta, took one very high, right? Very high, a fastball above the letters, hit it 102 off the bat, hit it 409 feet. So 2 very impressive swings from 2 young guys that we are going to hope impress for the Angels for years and years to come. And thank goodness they did it, because if these 2 home runs were not hit, this would be another one of those embarrassing F- games where outside of those 2 swings, the Angels had 1 hit, right? Outside of that, a key boom base hit was the only other thing in this ball game. So thank goodness the 2 solo shots give us some runs to talk about. And even if those 2 solo shots came from, I don't know, everyone in the lineup, you would be excited to see something, tonight. Maybe if Taylor Ward hit both of those home runs, you'd go, it's not really the guy you're worried about doing well. For them to be from Christian Moore and from Denzer Guzman, you will certainly take that, and that gives you a little bit of excitement, a little bit of a bright spot in what otherwise is a blowout loss where your big pitching prospect gets blown up. Now, after our break, we will talk about Caden Dana getting blown up. Of course, we're playing against the Brewers. Context needs to be added. But again, another concerning start. The guy doesn't have a win. The RA continues to rise. We'll talk about that after our break here on a losing, but some positives edition. Cut out there for a second. We're doing this on my phone, so I know the tech is a little rough, but we'll be right back on this edition of the Locked On Angels postcast. And it is good to be back. Now, on this Tuesday, today's show is brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like catching a baseball game live, the energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets. That's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees. It takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Gametime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Gametime is fast, easy, and backed by the Gametime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. That's the best thing, right? Knowing your total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout, it's great. And I just love that you can do it last minute. The zone deals are great. You just pick the section, they pick the seats, you save big, and it filters out the fluff. It doesn't show you all those tickets that are priced for way too high. So it's quick, it's easy, and you know you're getting the best deal. So download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Gametime today. And today's show also brought to you by Nutrafol, which is a new sponsor that I haven't been able to say yet. You've probably seen a million ads for hair growth products and thought, sure, like that one actually works, right? There's so many products out there, and it's hard to know which ones are actually going to do anything. That's why you should give Nutrafol a closer look. It's the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. And it's not just hype. This is a supplement clinically tested that targets the root causes of thinning and shedding with a proactive approach. Now, I'm lucky. I'm only 23 and I have good hair genes, but not at work, or not everyone is, right? And at work is what I was trying to say. I have some older coworkers who maybe they're balding, maybe they're struggling. And I even have one who sits literally right next to me who told me he gave this a try. I'm not even lying. So it's very convenient that I happen to be a sponsor of their show. But it's not just him. It's good to know that Nutrafol is NSF certified and backed by peer-reviewed studies. So see thicker, stronger hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. For limited time, Nutrafol is offering Locked On MLB listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com and enter the promo code Locked On MLB. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code Locked On MLB. And finally, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with the can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I know we can't do it in California, but when you're in another state, whenever I'm in another state, I love using FanDuel. Why? For me, it's the live betting aspect, right? Not only do I like to do things last minute, but I also really like to watch the first quarter of a game, see the vibe, especially in the NFL, see what's going on, and then make a bet accordingly, right? So are you ready to play? If so, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Back here live on the Locked On Angels postcast. Feels good to be back. I know it's been a few games without a show, but we're back here. Unfortunately, the Angels didn't put on much of a show, falling 9-2 in Milwaukee. Of course, they're playing the first place red hot 92-59 Milwaukee Brewers. Thank goodness we got home runs from Denzer Guzman and Christian Moore, two young middle infielders that you want to see have success since recently getting called up just a few days ago. Obviously, Christian Moore making his return to the Angels. Obviously, it hasn't been a great rookie year from him. 197 average now, 670 OPS, but the solo shot today will certainly help. And then for Denzer Guzman, we will take it, right? For this guy to, after just 3 games, 3 of 9, gets his first career home run. It's been a good start for him. And we are certainly happy about that. Now, one thing we are not happy about, and why I have to give the context of the Brewers being as amazing as they are, Caden Dana struggles once again. He struggled, like I said, early and often in this ball game. Gives up a home run, walks 3 guys, gives up 8 hits. He really didn't do anything right, and that's the biggest concern for me. It's one thing if you have a blow-up inning, or if you have a couple innings in a row where you give up a run, but it's only one each time. And maybe you're limiting the long ball. Maybe you're limiting the blow-up inning. But unfortunately, we got a little bit of everything, right? The guy pitches 5 innings. He gives up a run in 4 of the – he doesn't pitch 5 innings. Who am I talking about? He pitches 3 2/3 innings. He doesn't even get through 4 innings. He gives up a run in each inning he pitches, right? Gives up a run in the first, gives up a run in the second, gives up a run in the third, gives up 2 in the fourth, and different ways, right? He does give up the home run, but he also, at the end of the day, gives up 8 hits, right? It's an RBI double from Christian Yelich in the top of the first, or the bottom of the first inning, that scores the first run of the ball game, right? You have Caleb Durbin getting a line drive for a base hit to score the 3rd run of the ball game. Christian Yelich goes deep for a 2-run shot in the bottom of the 4th. So just a variety of ways that Caden Dana was giving up runs tonight, and that's what's the most concerning thing for me. Good point here by Steve. Good to see you back, as he says 2 more Enright visits followed immediately by a base hit. Enright needs to go. I know there's a lot of criticism of him as of late, seeing how the young guys are struggling. Already Sucks in here saying, is Caden Dana a bust? I'm going to say no to either as of now, right? I'm not actually pro Barry Enright being gone. I know that the pitching has been very up and down. I know that the bullpen has been called the bullpen at times. I know that the rotation has been pretty poor, especially in the second half of the season. But when you look at the guys that are being thrown out there, you can make the argument that Barry Enright has actually done a pretty decent job. Now, the Caden Dana thing is concerning, right? He's only been up for a couple games in 2025. Now 5 games, 3 starts, right? He started the season with a couple appearances out of the bullpen, but we're getting a larger sample size with each start that, comes, and it has not been good so far. On September 3rd, it was the 5 innings, the 2 runs, only one of them earned. 2 hits in 5 innings was great. Only 1 walk in addition to that. That was great. We were very excited after seeing that, especially when the only sightings we've had outside of that were 2 non-starts, both that did not go well. In case you forget, April 4th, 3 innings, 2 earned runs, gave up the home run. May 24th, 3 innings, 3 earned runs, gave up a home run. So for him to have that 5-inning start where he gives up just 2 hits, just 1 earned run, you love to see it. But the last 2 starts since then, not great. 4 2/3 on the 8th against the Twins, 5 hits was okay. The concern in that ball game, the 5 walks and the 2 home runs, right? So not a ton of hits, but not a few, but a ton of walks and 2 home runs. The only bright spot there, he did have 9 strikeouts. Well, today, the worst start of the 3 by far, because not only does he give up the 5 earned runs, but he only does it in 3 2/3. And again, not a single thing was effective. Just 4 strikeouts, so he wasn't great there. Only 51 strikes. 51 strikes out of his 92 pitches. Not great. So 3 walks to just 4 strikeouts to 8 hits and the home run. The RBI double from Christian Yelich, right? Angels win saying Dana stinks. You should have traded him when you had the high value. I'm not ready to say that Angels win. I'm really not. He's still very early into his career. The guy is just 21 years old. He has the upside. He's got to develop the pitch repertoire. He's got to get some experience, right? So I'm not ready to pull the plug on him at all And this is just experience for him. Unfortunately, you're pitching against one of the best lineups, if not the best lineup in baseball, and probably the best team in baseball. So I'm not ready to sound the alarm or anything. It was just 2 starts ago where we were saying that he looked like the real deal. So not ready to sound the alarm on that. Not ready to start glazing Denzer Guzman or Christian Moore or anything like that either, but certainly glad to see good things from them to counter the rough stuff we saw in the start from Caden Dana. Unfortunately, unfortunately, Peralta struggles in this one as well. In his 2 innings, gives up 4 runs, but we know this isn't a guy that's going to have a future on the Angels. It doesn't really feel like that. So Dana, not great. Guzman and Christian Moore home run save what would have been a disaster F game. If you ask for Gavin's grade, I'll give this one a C, really. Blowout loss, horrible performance from Caden Dana, horrible performance from the rest of the lineup. But because the 2 guys you want to see hit a home run did tonight, that at least gets you to a C. We'll leave it at that. But we're going to wrap this one up. Shout out to everybody in here. I'm excited for tomorrow's show where I'll be back at home. You guys who haven't been following the Ram Squad show, haven't been following the UCLA postcast, you haven't seen me at home with the regular setup in a while. So excited to be back to that tomorrow. But for now, glad to be back talking Angels baseball. Wish it was under better circumstances, but glad to be back. Appreciate you guys as always. See you back here tomorrow night, hopefully after an Angels win. But no matter what, I'll be here. Have a great rest of your Tuesday night. See you back here tomorrow. And even after a loss, which we're plenty used to, go Angels. Take care and see you tomorrow.